15 minutes late. We have members present, Philip Lypon, Teddy Harley, and Jim Roll.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. Forget it.
Do I have to do all that again? This is a workshop, so we don't have to read that form. Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance and take this pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And you may succeed.
And you can't succeed.
You can.
You cannot.
You can't talk.
You cannot. You can only do it with the agreement of the other 49 states.
That's only a
That will
rumor
never
that I
happen.
can't.
And I have looked into it. Now, we could declare independence and go to war with the other 49 states. That would be also
All we
be
gotta
okay.
do is cut off oil.
We have enough guns.
That's true.
Okay, before we get going, and I wish Ray was here, but I need to talk a little bit because I need Chris's input on this. And this is over Mark Gonzalez's proposal last week. I know you weren't here, Teddy, but you expressed some concerns about it. Simply as we got basted pretty hard in city council, and that was to be expected, because, and some of it was my fault, because I should have made a motion, even if you all turned it down. My concern with that is that we're already in one lawsuit. I didn't want to get in the second one, because basically we had no reason to turn it down. There's no logical reason why we should turn it down whatsoever. Our job is to look at a piece of land which is zoned residential right now. They want to zone it commercial, they want to change it to commercial, and there was no reason not to approve that. I mean, that's where I want you to step in and disagree with me or agree with me.
I'll do both, a little bit of both. And let me preface it by saying that I need to really look at the zoning ordinance to see kind of how you guys set things up. So I'm just going to talk generally about how it usually works. Okay. Zoning is a discretionary authority that cities have. Discretionary means that you don't have to approve every application that comes to you. Okay.
But we have to have a reason that will hold up in court for denying it.
Yes. Yes, you do. You do have to have. It can't be arbitrary and capricious. You can't win just. Well, you know, it's 70% humidity out there today, so I don't feel my hair is just not working. So I am approving this. Right? That doesn't work. Or my brother-in-law, his cousin owns this piece of property, and so yeah, I think we should do this. That doesn't work. Okay? It has to be, your decisions have to be based on some sort of planning context. Okay? Let me back up again. The commission is the advisory body, and the council is the legislative body that takes final action. So your job as the commission is to evaluate, like you said, you're absolutely correct, evaluate the land, evaluate the context, evaluate the city's goals, objectives. Preferably, you do it in court. This is really helpful, is that you do it consistent with the future land use plan. Okay? You make a recommendation as a body. Okay? And then the council takes that recommendation and they act on it, and their decision is final. And if somebody doesn't agree with it or thinks that the city acted arbitrarily or capriciously in not approving something or approving something, then they can sue them in district court. Right? And obviously that's an outcome that everybody wants to avoid. But typically what happens is you guys will get an application, and there's a couple options. You can recommend approval, you can recommend denial, and you don't even have to state the reasons for your denial recommendation. You don't have to. I always recommend it. I always recommend that if you're going to deny something, that you say it is not consistent with our comprehensive plan, or it is the potential for any of these uses to sit on this site is not consistent with our growth plans, or would clearly be detrimental to the adjacent area. Those are kind of good reasons for denying something. You also...
So we don't have a growth plan.
So you have to fall back on the others.
Yeah.
Okay, and point to other discussions that you've had as a body about, we have problems with this type of growth pattern, or we have problems with this type of use in other areas of the city, and these conditions are very similar, and therefore we don't think it's in the city's best interest to do that. Yeah. Okay. So the third option that you have is you can recommend a less intense zoning district. Okay, so
So if it's not commercial business?
if business is, and since I don't know the ins and outs of your ordinance,
I'll give you the wrong bit.
if commercial is kind of a big, covers everything
The bigger.
from mobile home sales and tractor equipment supply to little convenience stores.
That's what.
But business is limited to, say, offices or barber shops or things that don't have much outdoor storage, those kinds of things. Then it's more restrictive and less intense. And you have the option, especially when you're coming from something like going from residential to some sort of commercial or business, you have the option of saying, well, we don't think full commercial is appropriate here because something like a masonry supply center is not going to be appropriate next to these adjacent residential. However, a small convenience store, a professional business office, things that are permitted and make up the bulk of a business district, those would be, and so we recommend a lesser zoning district. And at that point, if you do something like that, and then that clearly shows to a court that you're not trying to deny outright any business opportunity. You're simply looking after the harmonious nature of the use and how well it integrates.
I asked the applicant, Mark Gonzalez, if he would consider changing from commercial to business, and he absolutely said no. Now, could the committee have then said, we will approve this, or make a proposal approving this for business use?
Absolutely.
Can we change that? I was told we couldn't change that.
Yeah, because I made that motion and was told that we couldn't,
Right.
so.
You absolutely can. If that's your prerogative as the commissioner in a zoning case, okay?
Well, this is a learning curve, because that would have solved a lot of problems, because I would have made that proposal, I'm sure
Yeah.
you would.
I didn't
But
have a
we will
problem.
pass it. I didn't know that we could change his
He
submission.
presented as commercial for office buildings, and I said,
Well,
why?
Yeah, that's the same question I had.
Why?
And the application
They're
did say
always,
commercial.
an applicant is always gonna present what their plans are, based on what they think the most likely, thing that's gonna get approved is gonna be, and it's not always.
It's just off his rank.
Because it doesn't matter, once you get that general commercial zoning, it doesn't matter if he said office in the commission hearing, he can turn around
Or gas
and,
station.
Exactly.
and put the
Exactly.
masonry supply
Mhm.
place,
Right.
and the quarry, or whatever that
Now-
most intense thing is.
The second part of my question here, then going forward is, can we, when we change these zoning rules, put in something where we need more information about actually what they want to do with that land. But I can see that coming up to all sorts of problems with people kicking and screaming about that.
For a straight zone, what I call a straight zoning case, you want to go from R1 to B3 or C4 or whatever whatever the nomenclature is for those business districts. You can't tie them down. You're basically, you're saying, I want to go from this set of approved uses to this set.
Right.
And that's the gamble. And so you have to, when you're making that evaluation, you have to evaluate in terms of, is the worst thing on this list,
That's
is that
what you're
gonna,
allowing,
because you're gonna grant them, the permission by right of that district to operate there. So that's part of that consideration.
Okay.
Can we ask for more detail in our application?
And
Or is it
not,
gonna
not,
make
and
any
that's,
difference?
that's what I'm saying about the straight zoning. It's a little bit more all or nothing, okay?
Well, but
And-
like this one, I mean, he said he wants office buildings in a commercial zone.
What's wrong with that? I mean, seriously.
Seriously?
If we-
Because he can do the worst thing that commercial allows.
My concern with this particular one is there were so many rumors about the person himself and what he was going to do with that property, but I think we based our decision on rumor and innuendo and hearsay and not on facts. And we should not have turned it down, we should have approved it.
You may have been better to have recommended a less intensive, just a pure business zoning.
He would-
I didn't know we could do that.
And they
But
did, but
if-
they didn't know that they could
Okay.
go through with it.
Yeah.
So the other way to get more control over that in the zoning ordinance is with a conditional use permit. Okay, in a conditional use situation, you can specifically limit those uses. You're no longer saying, I want everything in this whole list. You're saying, you're granting only a small
You're
subset.
limited to the use as a
But-
commercial zone.
We can actually make a proposal saying that we will grant this to be business use, not commercial use, and for office buildings only.
No, I'm saying in a conditional use permit, but that's not that wasn't what was before
Right.
us that last time. That was a straight zoning.
Straight zone.
And I don't want this ever to happen again because it makes the P and Z look silly. And,
Well, now we know that we can do it, so.
yeah, well,
Well, 'cause I was under the
I think it was silly
impression,
that says we couldn't do it, because we didn't have legal representation here. And, so I couldn't even ask our.
I was under the impression if the application is incorrect, if it's correct,
And you may be confusing it with platting, with subdivision, okay? With a plat,
I know less about that.
where you're subdividing property, as long as that, let me shine some light on this matter.
Yeah.
You must be telling the truth now.
What I said before about the.
Yeah,
Yeah, right, yeah.
But with a plat, as long as that subdivision plat meets, substantially complies with everything that's in your subdivision regulations and in maybe your construction standards and those construction plans, as long as that's all met, then you have to approve it. And you have to approve it within 30 days. And if you don't approve it within 30 days, then it's automatically approved. So it's like, you don't even have a chance. And those laws have, in the last 20 years or so, have really kind of kicked in and hit cities hard, and that's all a result of the builders and developers lobby get the legislature to create most of Chapter 212.
Dave, you're not the only one that believed that. I had this one council member tell me that specifically, that they had no choice because all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You do have, You do have some.
Well, the last time we kind of bucked it caused a lawsuit.
which we're still fighting.
Well,
And I was trying to avoid that at all costs, because it's hard enough.
but you're saying if all the Ts are crossed and Is are dotted,
We
For
can still.
subdivision, for a subdivision case.
Oh,
oh, okay.
For a plat.
This is what we're talking, he's
Yeah,
talking.
we're going back to-
We
for
want to
zoning-
talk planning.
Go back to this one from Mark
Oh.
Gonzalez,
For
we could have
zoning-
changed that to business.
we could have,
Right, so now I know for future.
Yeah. And I didn't know, and then that's,
Yeah, 'cause we're
that's
gonna-
crap, that's good.
It's good to know.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Let's go on with our meeting now.
I have a question. If, let's say something was on commercial way back when, and nothing was ever done with it, can we go in and downgrade it? Say it's residential having to build up around it. Can we arbitrarily do it? I mean, we have to put it on the agenda and everything, but without input from.
As long as you go through, okay, the quick answer is, a city council has the authority to rezone property, okay? It doesn't always have to be owner requested. You do have, the council does have the authority to do that. You still have to follow the same process, so you still have to,
Send out your notices.
you still have to do your notices,
Oh.
you still have to have a public hearing at P and Z, a public hearing at council, and P and Z has to, I want to look at the, and I don't have my book with me today. But I'm wondering if, I think P and Z has to make a report to the council. And that might.
A recommendation.
Recommendation. And I think, I'm wondering if that's gonna present a problem if you guys didn't have a recommendation. I'll have to look, you don't have local government code, Andy, do you?
That might, yeah.
Sorry, I'm diving off into other.
Well, it'd
Other
be,
issues,
it'd
but
be
these are
useful
good
to know,
questions.
because these things have a habit of
So,
sneaking up on us.
Yeah, and that we're trying to think of all the scenarios that,
so you do have the authority to.
To make the recommendation to rezone,
Right.
as the council has the final approval, right? Okay.
I would, you know,
I think about
and
it.
it kind of comes down to your relationship with your council, and kind of what the commission has done historically. Usually because that's because it's a power that's held by the council.
Are we doing 2010? Probably not, right?
It's fine, it's a little bit of a change. You want to have that initiation start from your council. So you want to have action from the council that said, begin the process for rezoning. And so you guys could make a report to them ahead of that that said, you know, we think that, you know, looking at our future land use plan, looking at these other issues that we've been discussing, we think it would be beneficial to consider rezoning this property. And you can bring that to them as, you know, as a report to the council at any time. We'll look at.
Did they approve that thing,
The
the
city?
city,
Yeah. That's it.
commercial?
Yep.
That's $100.
They had no reason not to.
But they, there was one side that was commercial, everything else was residential.
Well, one side and all of 10's
All the rest
frontage
is-
of 10, yeah.
Well, I was counting it. Yeah.
And then you have a little property, a house there that's commercial too.
Where, across the street?
9th and B.
You guys home rule?
Yes.
Oh, really? At the other end of the
Yep, yep.
What is it?
Well, it's a residential house,
Yeah, it's not being used. for-
Oh, but it's,
but in the
commercial.
map, it's colored commercial, and the history of it is, the owners who sold the property to them wanted to use it as a dispatch, house,
You couldn't use
or towing
it.
business.
Over here.
The 9th and B Street.
This is D, and this is 9.
It's a nice little house too.
In the zone commercial.
It's
Across from the deck.
It's right across from Decent, right?
Yeah, this is where I'm a little concerned, and, you know, obviously I'm not an attorney and I'm not your city attorney, so, but 211007B, the zoning commission shall make a preliminary report and hold public hearings on that report before submitting a report to the governing body. The governing body may not hold a public hearing unless it receives the final report of the zoning commission, unless the governing body by ordinance provides that public hearings to be held after the notice in 1106, jointly with the public hearing with planning. In either case, the governing body may not take action on the matter until it receives the final report of the zoning commission.
So,
So that we would have to prepare a report.
So you guys have to, you have to deliver that report can be, you know, my way I've done it, and again, this is not me as an attorney giving you advice, but you deliver a recommendation, which is your report. Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing, we got this kind of input from the public. The commission discussed it and recommends the following, and that's your report.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, but if you didn't make a recommendation at all, and I don't know if that was the case coming out of your last meeting, if you didn't make any recommendation, then it comes down to whether or not you actually, your attorney thinks you actually made a report to the council.
On this last one, we did nothing on it. I declared the motion died because of lack of proposal.
there's like a motion, I
Lack
don't
of
know anything.
motion. Nobody would make a proposal. And I wasn't even sure if I could, from the chair, make a proposal, but I can.
So that's kind of a question that you need, you know, your city attorney needs to.
That's kind of a gray area. The report could have been cited that no action was taken by the council, but that's gonna be a gray area for legal interpretation. Property law especially, I mean, in government code is really, really sketchy about stuff like that.
I think it's very specific, actually. I mean, I think it's very specific when it says that in either case, the governing body may not take action on the matter until it receives the final report of the zoning commission.
What constitutes the report?
A recommendation.
A recommendation, because you've been charged with, in the previous section, to exercise the powers authorized by this subchapter, so zoning authority. The governing body of a home rule municipality shall appoint a zoning commission. The commission shall recommend boundaries for the original zoning districts and appropriate zoning regulations for each district.
So what the city council should have done was kick it back to us. It's not voted on it.
Yeah.
That's,
You wanna,
you gotta
be long? What section of local government code are you in?
I'm in 211007.
Okay.
that's interesting, because I'll have to talk to the city council now and say, hey, guys.
And
you did this
well, again, I'm not an attorney. I play one on a telenovela, but I've worked with them enough to know that that's the kind of
Just
thing.
give me that one, where you want to.
Local Government Code 211.007B.
You probably pull it up on
I can put it on the website.
the, yes.
Okay. So really, the city council on this one should have kicked it back to us. We would have had to have a special meeting. And knowing what I know now and what you know now,
We
could
recommended this?
we could change it to business and then kick it through. That's then up to the council to decide after that. That's the P and Z's recommendation. The council have been very good about backing P and Z just about on everything we've ever done. So, but I will get with our city attorney. I'll talk to him as soon as I can on that.
Okay.
If a piece of,
Okay.
I got one more. If
Good thing I'm charging by the hour.
Yeah.
a piece of property is zoned a certain classification, does that remain that classification
Until the council acts to change it otherwise.
so it
It has no
doesn't
time
have,
limit on it.
except for the SP, the
Just
special use?
Yes, that's what it was.
Special use, if you have a
That's
special
fine.
use provision,
That's
then you
12
can
months.
set
That's
it.
12 months, right? You have to do something 12, yeah.
Which across from Angel's Flooring.
He's already started construction.
No, he doesn't. There's nothing.
There's a pipe sticking out of the ground. Yeah.
Chris, this is, Chris Salamantes.
Okay, you had asked for us to do some homework.
I had, I put together a little agenda here, kind of, this is based on what we talked about last time. Last time was kind of hard today. Review, kind of carry over what we did, discussion, I think we've certainly carried over into other topics. And,
So they're all part of it.
Next thing I want to talk about is our vision for the future, and then we'll get into some of the mapping stuff, which is the fun stuff. I'll trust you guys with colors and markers. But vision for the future, what we did last time, we had some questions about what makes Floresville unique, right? And so we kind of did a little list here. I've kind of pulled that over here to some key concepts. And then we also sent out this document here, which is some sample vision statements, and these are ones that, everybody have one?
Yes.
These are some that I've been involved with or otherwise know about and kind of like. And then Mr. Jocelyn had stepped up and provided 3 samples of just basically his thoughts on vision statement. And
Well, I've got 2 here that I had.
so that was part of your homework was then, what is your vision statement? And I wanted to hear from you guys.
The little bullet points that are on there were taken, the bottom one was taken from our master plan wording, and then the other 2 were documents that had been released previously to the public, but those statements in there, and it's just for your review.
This is part of this bottom one is part of the master plan?
Yes, if you look at the beginning of our master plan on our online,
Okay.
you can read that, but that's specifically.
Well, I missed that then. Okay. Somehow I missed that. I do have a copy of it, yeah. Go ahead. But if you guys have done some homework, then
I've got 2 that I've worked on, and yes, they're plagiarized from the 500 that I looked at when I Googled. Yeah, there are, what was it, 2,600 pages just on planning and zoning mission statements. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, my first one says, the City of Floresville's Planning and Zoning Commission's mission is to plan the physical development of the city that will preserve its unique character and enhance the quality of life for present and future residents. The second one I put, City of Floresville's Planning and Zoning Commission is to create, administer, and coordinate city, state, and regional land use and zoning policies, regulations, and other legislation to ensure developments that are consistent with Floresville's character, history, and diversity. I don't like either of them, but
Well, I like the first.
How's it sound like the first one?
I think we could work on it and do something.
I
And then,
like preserving and enhancing our historical character.
that's a phrase that we like.
And then Jim had a good one.
Well, mine is
quite wordy because I never write anything short.
That's because you worked in the government.
Mine reads as follows. We strive to make Floresville a vibrant, multicultural community that welcomes new families, promotes exceptional educational opportunities, nurtures business growth, and provides plentiful job opportunities. A thriving, family-oriented community maintaining small-town values with businesses that provide all the needs of the community. A community that embraces our diverse heritage while using our abundant natural resources to benefit current and future residents and businesses. To create a land use plan that addresses current needs of the community during economic expansion due to oil play, and at the same time has the foresight to accommodate future needs for sustainable business and intelligent growth beyond the oil play. A land use plan that identifies current and future growth needs for residential and business uses and creates those zones so that residential areas are not impacted or limited by embedded businesses, and business areas are not hampered by surrounding residential areas.
That is one.
I used to do this for a living.
You were obviously charging by the word.
Okay. And you don't have to like it, I just had to write something.
That's good. I like what we can, we always want to preserve what we have, and, but look to the future. And what do you think, Chris? Chris is our
I lived here most of my life.
born, has his family here, and so what is your opinion on that, Chris?
I mean, you know,
Why do you stay here?
well, for one was because I used to like the idea of every place I went, I knew everybody.
There you go.
You know, and I was strong into small business, because the simple fact is, a small community can make that work for small business. Now, you bring, you know, it grows, you bring, like, for instance, we had a Super S, we had a Bauman's, you know, we had various little hub grocery chains, you know, Bill's, remember Bill's, were you, we had a Bill's Dollar Store,
Oh, this was Bill's Dollar Store.
Bill's Dollar Store, right?
Red and white.
This
Yeah.
is good.
We had various little that I was raised with. And I started seeing the change. And, you know, my dad worked in this city government, you know, when he retired. He was with the economical development. And he never used to tell me what was coming, but he said changes were coming. And that's when I ate Whataburger, H-E-B. Then I saw all these little stores just
I went away.
this, and then what I saw mainly, what I didn't like was, you know, is you go to the store and you see all, you know, you walk in and there may be one person you didn't recognize, but by the time you left the store, you would know who he was, or H. Now you go to H-E-B, you'd be lucky to find it's vice versa. And that's what, you know, I can relate to that. I mean, I didn't come.
You were born here, Chris, right?
I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so was I.
You know, and then I remember, you know, I know time has to change, but one thing I'll remember the most about this town is, and you all know already, big politics. That's the only thing that stands out like a sore thumb, because, you know, that's why I got in here, because I want to be clean across the board and what's best for Floresville. Not for my buddy, not for my friend, not for his friend, what's best for Floresville. And that's a great, I like both of y'all's, you know, because we used to produce peanuts here too, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, both they don't do too much strawberries, they get it off from California now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used to love walking and used to smell the peanuts just, they were cooking them right there through the neighborhood.
Well, and in the peanut festival, I used to all hang along
And
the
that's
streets.
all across.
You don't see them anymore.
You see maybe Marcus or somebody that started doing it again, but, I mean, there's a lot of changes, but I like to still have that, you know what I mean, like businesses, you know, still striving. And I know everybody want, you know, because the other part is, I wouldn't want my kids to work in San Antonio, you know. So, you know, those businesses are coming here, it's growing, but I think we need to adapt more to the change and be careful of what businesses like for instance, when we had the spot zoning, that they were trying to do a barber, beauty salon, back then, people still are doing things without permits and stuff, so it's still there, and it's killing us, because, you're endangering that, that area they're doing a building, there's no permits, and if an officer or somebody has to respond to there, they're not aware of what's in there. So little things like that, but I will tell you, I'm 43 years old, and I lived in San Antonio for 1 year. To try it, I came right back. So, I just love this town, and if we can make it and have a great group of guys like we have right now to do what's best for Floresville, I'm on in for it.
That's real interesting because my story is almost 100% opposite to yours. Because I wasn't born here, I wasn't even born in this country. But moving to Floresville, being accepted, I've made more friends in Floresville than I ever did in San Antonio. So the two sides of that coin are that you've seen some change, which some of it's good, some of it's not so good. And then from my side, being accepted into the community and finding a lot of good friends here, it just shows what a good town Floresville is, good city Floresville is. It's total reverse to yours. I would love to have been here.
How long have you been in Floresville, would you mind asking?
8 years.
8?
Mm-hmm.
And Hardy?
Since '98.
98. I remember going to get the block of ice and picking it,
Yeah, right over there.
It's right there, the light company. My grandpa used to work there. I remember these small restaurants that were, there's a lot, and I know changes are good too,
Well, they're coming.
They're coming. But, way before all this happened, Floresville kept on saying no, no, no. Remember they would do the home, what's that,
General and home rule,
Mhm.
yes.
try to extend and actually my dad's property was out of the city limits. So I saw it being kind of like a county getaway to when he had the property there, because we lived in the city. And where he lives right now on, which is Sulphur Springs Road, Sutherland Springs Road. It used to be called another road, but that was the county. So we used to go there and raise pigs, my grandfather, do the county deal.
We probably bought them.
And then what happened was, the city just, moved in there, we could go pop fireworks, because I was outside, it was just right outside, then they moved it. But it was good because there was a dirt road only, now there was asphalt, so, sewer, water, and it's all, that's a great change. I like that. But my main thing is, I know with the oil, there was gonna be a lot of this, and I'm so, I know I hate bringing it up, but with all those trailer parks and all, I didn't wanna see that. But we had no control. But, now if we knew what we knew now and it grew, might have been preventing it. But thing is, we can prevent other stuff from not happening if we're all, and that's what
Well, and the special use permit, once it dies down, if it's believed, if it's inactive for a year, you lose it.
If that's the way you define it.
That's on special use, yes.
Yeah, just special use.
But obviously, the way to move forward is with looking forward, but being aware of our past and our strengths and what makes Floresville great. But we're still going to move forward. This city's going to expand whether we like it or not. And this is what we're here for, to make sure it expands in the way that we see best for everybody. But that doesn't mean we don't forget where we came from and the history. I wasn't here when Bowman's was here. It was still open in Livonia, because I used to go there before HEB opened. And, but that, you can't stop progress. I'm not saying it's good, not all progress is good. But we've still got the boot shop and things like that. What's that guy's name?
That's what you still, yeah, that's a family business.
Yeah.
The barber shops,
Mhm.
Ray and
Merlin.
Good, you know.
Merlin.
Merlin.
When he's sober.
I remember I used to cut the,
He's sober.
all this beautiful, he has that sign there for the
Right.
artists.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I don't want to stray off the point too much, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but,
And let me make maybe a suggestion to kind of use our time most efficiently. I have this one, if I can get a copy of yours, and this one, and this one, if you guys will trust me, I will
put something
combine
together.
the two, combine all three of them, and come up with something that.
I'm going to cross through the second one,
incorporates them
because the first one is much better.
well.
Would you mind? Thank you.
Can you make a copy of that?
You can have that one.
Well, okay.
Yeah, sure.
But you need a copy of that for your records.
We got, Jim was much more efficient and emailed it, so.
Oh,
I've been moving offices all week, plus my wife having surgery, it's just been, I moved my business and, wrong week to do it.
So, yeah, I emailed it because I thought you were going to have a message and I wasn't going to be here, so. I wanted you to at least be
Well,
first.
I couldn't be here either, which is why we canceled last week. It just didn't-
It all worked out. It all worked out.
I had it set for today and it didn't go off.
Chris, I know what you're talking about this. I mean, I was born and raised here. I'm 65, so I've been around for a while. But I went off for 20 years to be in the Navy. But I mean, when I was a kid, and my dad, although he wasn't on city council, was very involved in everything in the community. He was a small business owner too. And this community in those days was, we don't want anybody from the outside because they will impact our local businesses, and the ability of our local business to stay. And so we came from that little tight-knit, self-sufficient community to, as Phil says, now, not just the oil business, but I mean, San Antonio is growing. People are looking for a better place to live than inside of San Antonio, and so we've got a population growth we have to deal with.
I believe that, you know, and actually, in some time that, you know, well, it's already considered metropolitan, there, you know, coming down.
Yeah.
Because north, they can't go north no more. And then with the Toyota Planoia that's growing south. You know, it's, I mean, I love to see the city grow. And, but you know, yet, I think now it's gonna help it what we have. Because we didn't have a planning and zoning. And I don't even think, they had a certificate of occupancy for a lot of these other businesses that were opening. And I think somewheres, well, maybe you would know.
I don't think we have them for residents, yeah, do those.
You're okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I have your, you
I have
emailed
no
it to me,
record,
right?
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Okay.
You got it, or at least, I think you did.
I did.
Okay, now I can send it to you again.
So, well, I think we can, I'll try and wrap that together and I'll bring it back next time in the carryover portion of our agenda.
The only other thing that I didn't add to that,
Yeah.
whether it needs to go into a mission statement or not, it certainly needs to be reminded on our commission, is one set of rules apply equally fairly. That, to me, is very important.
Particularly with our restaurant.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we do treat everybody equally, yeah, with the same yardstick, whatever, you know, it's so important that we be consistent as a commission.
You know, it can go.
And I think, even though we're in a lawsuit with Sisley, we made a pretty good statement of where the Planning and Zoning Commission is headed with growth in Floresville by denying the man camp in the city. And that's what it was. And I think we made a statement that lets everybody else know, you know, we're not sitting here blindly
That's right.
just rubber stamping things.
I mean, sometimes you gotta get in the, you gotta get in the fight.
Yeah.
Even though your parents telling you growing up, you don't, I don't want you fighting at school, sometimes you gotta stick up for yourself in the playground. And,
Yep.
even if you get beat up too, even if you lose.
Well, I don't think there's any way we can lose it, because I think it's gonna have to move to a different level of court,
Yeah.
which means that he's just got to spend an awful lot of money, and he's been told by his lawyer and ours he's going to lose, so.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
What about sharing the character course then?
Sharing the character? Is that what you said?
That's something we could probably put in there somewhere.
Oh, maybe something in there. Preserving history, enhancing future, and sharing character.
And I put in my first one that will preserve its unique character and enhance the quality of life. So,
You're just early.
You're in the right place, just a little early, that's all.
Just, yeah,
So,
we're ready to get to play with the colored pens.
yeah, that's where we're at now, we get to play with some colors.
Where did I go?
So, the first thing we want to do, before I take out all the tools, first thing we want to do is we want to talk about the planning area, the area that they're concerned with, okay? We have city limits, which is the area that we have zoning authority. We have our ETJ, which is the area that we don't have zoning authority, but we do have subdivision authority. And then we have areas that are outside that we anticipate, or we could anticipate reasonably, that are gonna come into our control, or that we do kind of need to control. And so we can include those in our land use plan. I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that, because a lot of cities think, oh, you know, the only thing I can do is plan inside my city limits. The only thing I can do is plan inside my ETJ. You can go outside those areas. And in fact, it shows, I think it shows more foresight to do so in certain cases, if it's warranted. So, I took a stab at just saying, okay, this yellow line represents our ETJ, the red line, I think, and I'll need to verify with you, Cindy, because we found conflicting information on your city limits.
Really?
And so.
Why we're not surprised.
None of us are surprised, it's, yeah.
I found we found just a couple different.
Was that
versions.
those files that in that CD?
Some, yeah, one is on this, and I can't remember, because Jennifer and Jennifer came with me last time I was with me. She and I were working on the maps before I was originally supposed to come 2 weeks ago, and we decided red or purple, which one was correct, and I think we thought red was correct, but now that I look at it and I see
I didn't notice.
the conference center,
No, that's
Yes.
correct, that's correct.
it's outside the city?
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes. Don't be surprised.
Okay.
It's.
So the red
yeah.
it may be correct, and I may need you to look at this for me and tell me if it's right.
Yes.
But we also know that things happen close by, and so I want to first hear from you guys, what's the area we should be concerned with? Should it be, it can just be the yellow line, it can be just a little bit outside the yellow line, or it can be, for instance, Pleasanton I think they got a little carried away with that, and they started looking at,
I mean, where the Walmart, where the Walmart's at?
97.
Is that 97?
outside, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right at the
nice.
Durdenton.
Goes to Durdenton.
Well, when we started looking up at 30-06 and 281 North, I started thinking, I think, a little bit more aggressive.
Clearly, the commercial growth is going to be north on 181.
Yeah.
And it needs to go as far as we can possibly take it.
So further out.
I don't know.
north.
It needs to go to Wallingwood, doesn't it? So that would.
Walmart?
Yeah.
Walmart's
Yeah,
in the
Walmart's in
city.
the city, yeah.
Walmart
I
is
think
in the
We've
city.
already
yeah,
got,
that-
where is Walmart?
Oh,
We've
I'm
got
sorry.
Richardson's
You have to see there's
opening.
Riverbend over there.
There you go, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but it really ought to go up as far, well, it ought to go to 775.
Why?
Right now, it used to go to Business 181.
Yeah, I think at least for business.
Business 181
and
comes in to Highway 181. All that area should be,
We should be planning for that.
we should be planning for that. Because that's, like in any city the size of Floresville, it will grow towards its big neighbor, which is San Antonio. That's where the 181 is going to be like 281 in 5 years' time, which means it's going to be hard to drive on.
It used to be only a one lane.
I apologize too for the quality of the aerial photo. We really struggled to get an aerial that was current and one that looked decent, because the ones that looked decent were 5, 6 years out of date, and I knew that that wasn't gonna help us look at recent growth, so we're still looking for other sources, and I'm hoping that next time we'll get a
Google
map.
Maps.
I don't know if you guys agree with any of you all agree, but the area that I see, because I'm involved in new construction and I see where growth is, it is obviously north and it's east and west. There is a lot of growth south, but it's all in Poland. There's nothing between
South of
Poland
here.
and south.
Yeah.
This we lost Julius, we know where to go down there now. Right, Debbie?
But what's gonna happen is, right to fight, we like 775, and there's rumors already that, you know, like Chili's and all that, I want to plant right there by 775 or so.
Somebody has bought a chunk of land there,
And
and I don't know what they're gonna do, I can't find out who bought it.
that's
what
a
they're gonna
rumor
do.
that we've been
Bobby Jones might know. 'Cause I believe, if it's catty cornered from the back.